Hey, welcome back to Startup Screen Printing. My name is Jesse. Today I want to talk to you guys about scoop coaters, and we're going to coat a screen. And obviously I have the lights on. I have another video that accompanies this one that actually includes this portion of coating a screen, where I'm testing out whether these lights actually do affect the emulsion during the coating process, and then I'm going to actually burn the screen and see if I have any problems. So I've never had any issues with the lights overhead before, but we're going to see. So check out that video and let me know what you think. We're going to find out what the result is. Okay. So I've got a screen here that we can coat, and I've got 3 different types of scoop coaters. And I only have 3 because I saw this one when I was first getting started, or not shortly after, and I thought, oh, that would be cool. Let's do that one. But honestly, I don't really like it. So I don't really use this one very much. But I just wanted to show it. I have used it before, and it's not bad. There's not really any reason to not like it other than I just got so used to these other styles that are a little smaller, a little easier to handle. So I'm going to go ahead and set this one back here. We're going to skip it. These 2 are essentially the same. And in fact, this is one of those times where this one's pretty dirty because I don't use it much anymore. And this was before I got good at cleaning my stuff. But this was a situation where I ordered this one when I was first getting started, and it was great, but it had a nick in the aluminum here, and so it would cause a line in my emulsion when I would try and coat, and so I couldn't use one side because of that nick. I had to use the other side, and for whatever reason, I thought, well, I'll just order another one. So I ordered another one, and it came as a different style. So this is one of those times where, Ryan Ed, if you're watching, if you change the style of something, you change something about it, update the pictures and let people know that it's changed, because I didn't know. And I was a little confused when I got this one. I was like, crap, why is this different? But anyways, so I'm going to go ahead and show you guys that if you get a scoop coater, if you got the DIY kit, you're going to come with a plastic one, and that's fine. But what you're going to notice is there's going to be 2 sides, and these sides, though they look the same on video here, they are different. One side has a larger radius in the, or larger, yeah, I guess it's radius, in the curve here around the edging. And this one is much more narrow. I mean, this is a thinner side, and this is a thicker side, for lack of better terminology. So what's going to happen is when you're coating a screen, the thinner side is going to apply a thinner coat of emulsion. The thicker side will apply a thicker coat of emulsion. The fact that these are angled right here is intended to give you the appropriate angle to lay it against the screen. Now, I will say that I don't always utilize that. Oftentimes I'll go back like this, especially when I was using this one. I wanted to use the thin side, but again, it had the nick, the blemish in the aluminum here, so it would cause a line. Now they do send you with send a piece of sandpaper with these so that you could, sand that lightly with a really, really, really fine grit sandpaper so that it doesn't leave grooves. And you can take a lot of berms and blemishes off. But nonetheless, I had to use the thicker side. So I've gotten used to using the thicker side, and I will actually take and hold back like this so that I'm actually giving more pressure on the coater itself and less pressure on these side braces here. So if you go all the way up, you are intentionally or essentially giving more pressure on these edges and less on here, which is what allows you to get a thicker coat of emulsion with this thicker side versus the thinner side. But if you angle back a little bit, you're actually putting more pressure on the blade itself, which will thin your coat of emulsion. So there is supposedly a right and wrong side to use depending on what you're trying to do, but I'll be honest with you, I just use the thick side and I angle it back. And so I just got so used to doing that it works better for me than using the thin side. The thin side might be more appropriate for certain types of coating, but it's never been an issue for me. So if you have the knowledge to let us know what side is supposed to be what, then let me know in the comments. All right, so now we're going to get to the testing. We're going to go ahead. This one actually goes on here. I'm going to set this one back because I'm not going to use this one. I'm going to use this cleaner one that I use more often. And what I've got here, this is another misconception, I think, or maybe a not intentionally misled, but just a warning that I think scares a lot of people when it comes to printing water-based, especially, and printing at home and printing without a professional darkroom, a totally 100% light-safe darkroom with all the bells and whistles. As you can see, this is not a light-safe darkroom. Well, it's not appeared to be. I have the window tint. I've got certain types of LED lights that have worked well with my emulsion, so we're going to give this a try. But I've used this Baselayr Complete since the very beginning, and I used it because it is the one recommended for water-based, but they always say we don't recommend it with a certain size, under a certain size of exposure unit. We don't recommend it without a really dialed in darkroom, and obviously my setup goes completely against that. I do not have the size exposure unit that they recommend for this emulsion. I do not have a fully dialed in darkroom in the way that you would think. So, but I have always used this Baselayr Complete emulsion. Before it was called Baselayr, it was the Cryo Coat. So I've always used this and it's worked great for me. I've never had any issues. So don't feel like you have to go with the other Baselayr, the lower level ones, and then add the what is the diazo additive or whatever it is. I may not be saying that right, but anyways, this one has worked great for me, so it's what I'm going to use. I also like to use these little cleanup cards that you can get from Ryanette. I use these applying adhesive to my platens, and I also use them when I'm coating screens and adding emulsion here, and you'll see why. So let's just get to it. I'm intentionally using a container that's almost out here. So if you don't use it often, it's good to stir it up. I'm not going to worry about that for this video because we're really going to put it to the test and see how dialed in or careful we really have to be. So we have the emulsion out. It's exposed to light here. We'll see how light safe my lights really are. I've got my thick side over here, so I've got it facing the screen just to help me out. And you're just going to pour in an amount. I don't need too much because I'm just doing one screen. And I like to take these little cards and just scoop it off like that so that I'm not making a mess. Put it back on. And then I toss it. And then I'll show you in a minute when I get ready to wash out the scoop coater. The other way that, oh, actually I don't want that on quite yet. Let's take this back off. Well, I got my hands all dirty too. Okay, let me grab a rag. This emulsion is thick stuff, but thankfully it comes off pretty easily with water. Okay, so just going to set that on top. And then we're going to get started. Okay. You see a lot of guys have the racks that hang onto the wall to set their screen on, and then they do two hands and coat a screen. I've never been able to do it with two hands. It just not worked well for me. A lot of guys will complain about the fact that they don't want to get down on the ground and bend their knees. Just set it on a table. Sometimes I'll do it on my press. So don't make a big deal out of it. Just find whatever you have and use that. So we're going to start with the screen straight up and down. You're going to angle it slightly. Now this is going to be, just about a, what would that be, 30-degree angle, somewhere in there. What you're going to do is take your scoop coater, you're going to set it about an inch above the edge of the screen, where the metal ends and the screen begins. You're going to set it about an inch above, and you're just going to angle, and in fact, I like to do like this and angle it, substantially. And I'm letting all of the emulsion run up against the screen and fill up the entire section here so that when I go up, I have a full scoop coater the entire width of the coater itself. Then I'm going to tilt back a little bit. I've got my 30-degree angle. I'm just going to come up. I'm going to stop and bring my screen up straight. And then as I tilt my scoop coater down, I want to then start moving back and forth and up at the same time. And then I can pull away. So I'm going up, tilting it back, shimmying back and forth, and scooping up at the same time. And that's going to keep it from having a lot of drips and things here. So then I'm going to take and do it again. So I'm going to tilt back. I'm letting all the emulsion go all the way down to the screen, and I'm watching it throughout the entire width of the screen coat, or the scoop coater. Now it's there, so I'm going to tilt back a little bit, come up in a quick or a nice fluid motion all the way up. And if you have your hand in the center, then you should have good even contact throughout the entire width. That's why the two hands works well, because they try to keep the pressure even the entire way. But again, I've never been able to do it with two hands. All right, the key to coating too is you want to coat, and I normally do 2 coats. And then you want to flip and do the other side, but you want to do it in the opposite direction. So I did this one up this way. And if I just take the screen and flip it like that, that means I did it down this way. And so when I do this side, I'm going the opposite direction. Now, you always want to do the inkwell side, which is this side, after you do the substrate side, which is this side, because this is the side that goes down onto your substrate, your apparel. And this is the side you put the ink in. So you want to do this side last. So I've already done the substrate side. I'm going to flip this over about 1 inch away from the metal. I'm going to let all the emulsion fall all the way down onto this screen, the entire width of the coater, and then I'm going to do the same thing. Tilt back a little bit. I've got my 30 to 45 degree angle. Now I'm going up, shimmy it back and forth and pull away. Now you can do 1 coat here, or you can do 2. I find benefits either way. A lot of times with a higher mesh, I'll do just a single coat here, or sometimes I'll flip that. Sometimes it works better. You know, just try what works best for you and your environment. So give it a try. For years, I did 2-2 every single time. No matter the mesh size. I mean, for years, like first probably 3 or 4 years of my business, I did 2 coats on both sides on every screen, every size. Most of my screens are 156. I do have some 205, 230s, 305s, things like that. But I'm going to go and do a second coat. I'm going to let all the emulsion down. It's taking a while because I don't have much emulsion in there. All right, tilt it back, 30 to 45 degrees. We're going up, shimmy, and pull away. All right, now I've got this screen. What you want to do now is wherever you put this to dry, the important thing is the substrate side is down, just like you were printing. What this is going to do is it's going to allow gravity to work in your favor. What gravity is going to do is the ink is going to slowly settle to where the emulsion, to where the majority of it is on the bottom substrate side of the screen. And you want that because what you're creating is a thickness on the bottom part of the screen where the ink will sit. When you flood that screen, that's where that ink goes. And it sits inside of that emulsion layer. Now that doesn't have to be very thick, but then when you push the squeegee over that, it pushes the ink that was sitting in that layer. And so you're creating that layer by letting this screen dry in this way. You don't want it drying like this. You don't want it drying like this. You want it drying like this, and not even like this. I mean, you want it to be as level as possible. Now, when I was first getting started, before I had that screen rack, I would actually take a bunch of small boxes. They were like shoebox size shipping boxes. And I had them laid out all throughout the floor of this basement. And I would lay this one edge on one box and another edge on another box. And I'd have another screen on the other side of that box. And I'd have them all spread out. Now, obviously I had some issues with dust because they're so close to the floor. I would always try to vacuum and sweep before I was going to coat screens so that I would try to mitigate that. But just be sure that you're letting the screen dry in this position. Okay, so, all right, I'm going to take this and put it in the rack, and then we'll finish up the rest of this video. In fact, I'll just go ahead and finish out. I'm going to come back in another video after this dries, and I'm going to try and expose this. And what I'm going to see if this emulsion was affected by any of this light down here. And if it was, then obviously I'll continue to turn the lights off and turn my safe bulbs on, and we'll go from there. But I still, even aside from all that, I still don't have the, totally closed off, light protected dark room like you would think. But I think I've done enough. So I hope it would encourage you to know that you can come up with a dark room that would work, and even would work for this high-end emulsion and water-based screen printing. So that's my goal here, but we're going to test this out. So I'm going to go put this away, and I'll see you in the other video. If you're watching that other video, I'll see you in the next clip where we're going to actually expose this and see how it works out. Okay, I put that screen away, and I forgot I was going to show you guys this last part. Just, it's not super important, but, this stuff, it can get pretty thick, and you don't want to get it on your fingers. I mean, it doesn't affect if you get it on your fingers, but if you don't want to, I've found that these things are great because you can kind of curve them under, and they fit nicely right down in there, and I can scoop that right back down into this emulsion. Now, obviously, if this is all screwed up, then I'm not worried about saving it. But assuming I was in an environment where it was safe, or if this turns out to be safe, I don't want to have wasted the emulsion if I didn't have to. Obviously, if it's ruined, then I've wasted it in the name of education for you guys. But I like to use these cards just to kind of get most of it cleaned off, and then I'll go rinse the rest of it off in the wash bay. All right, that's it. So I hope that was helpful for you. I hope you have, if you've never coated a screen before, or maybe you tried and you found it difficult, hopefully that I've given you some tips that will help you out or give you more comfort level, more confidence in doing it, because you're really just a matter of trying something until something works for yourself. So hope that's encouraging for you. But let me know if you have any questions about coating screens, about emulsion, or anything else that I'm doing down here. I want to help you out. My goal is to be a resource for you to learn and grow an incredible print business, and I would just want to walk alongside you on that journey. So until the next video, I hope you have a fantastic day.